Thank you, and welcome to the Podcast in 24 Hours course. This course, I'm going to show you how to get your very own podcast started in 24 hours. That means you know nothing right now. You know zero about podcasting. You don't know anything. You don't know what to do about podcasting. I'm going to show you how to take that idea that you have in your brain or that you thought about many times. I'm going to show you how to take that and create a podcast from it. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, you're going to have a lot more. You're going to have at least one podcast listener in your podcast, even if that listener is you. Even if you yourself have only clicked on your podcast and listened to it, you're going to have at least one listener on your very own podcast one day from now. So sit back, get a paper and pen, get your nice beverage out, and let's get started. What has podcasting meant for me? I'll tell you. I started off a couple of years ago. I had an idea for a podcast. Obviously, I teach individuals how to get a job in tech from nothing, meaning they know nothing about tech. Maybe they work at McDonald's or Pizza Hut or Walmart. And I show them through my courses, through just talking about it. I give them strategies. I give them the easy button, if you will, how to get an entry-level job in tech. Everybody needs that. Most of the people that listen to my podcast resonate with that because I understand they just want to make an extra $2 an hour. That's really what it's about. They're not looking to make $1 million and get rich quick or whatever. They're just looking, hey, I make $15 an hour. I make $9 an hour. I make $7 an hour. I just want to make $2 more an hour. That's all I want. So that's what podcasting meant for me, or has done for me. It's opened up a lot of avenues for me. I've had a chance to, and my podcast, I've actually made money doing podcasting, if you can believe it, right? You know, it's great, fantastic. It's fantastic. Something I never would have thought you could even have happen, but actually it's really fascinating. And the great thing about that is it just opened up a lot of doors for me and given me a little more credibility in what I teach. Now I'm able to take the ideas I have in my brain and push them out, send them, tell individuals about them, my ideas, strategies, how to do things, how I did it, how they can do it, meaning here's how you do it. I want to show you how through the podcast. And obviously, I've listened to a lot of podcasts myself. And how I got into podcasting, you may ask, right? You may ask me, like, how did you get into podcasting? How did you start all this podcasting stuff? Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, he is one of these individuals on YouTube, on social media, everywhere, really. I was listening to one of his videos. I was driving at the time. And the audio was on, so I wasn't actually watching. I was just listening to audio. In it, he started talking about this thing called Anchor. Like, what is this? What is this Anchor? What is this thing here? What is this? And I went, when I got to my destination, I watched the full video. And when he talked about Anchor, that night, I downloaded Anchor. I downloaded Anchor and put my very first podcast out there, which I believe was April 18th, 2018. Which is fantastic. And then from there, it's been 100 plus episodes. And it's just been great. It's been great. I've learned a lot. I've learned about the different audio types, how audio is a factor in podcasting, and the different ways and how to get the audio quality better, and as well as some of the techniques I've used. And this is all coming from just me doing it and figuring out how it's done or how it's not done and listen to my podcast. And I'll tell you, if I do a podcast and I don't necessarily think it's all that great, I still put it out there because I'm not looking for perfection here. You know, perfection is, if I did that, then I would be like, okay, I'm not going to want to do it again, and then I'll have nothing out, you know, because I'll be perfection. And that's just not it. What I have to understand is, or what I've come to understand is, I have ideas. Other individuals want to hear the ideas. And if I just limit myself and try to be perfect every time, perfect Patrick, if you will, nothing ever gets done. I'll never have a podcast out there. It'll just be in my mind. So that is what podcasting has done for me. What is your idea? What is that idea that you have in your brain that you wrote down or you've constantly thought about? That'd be really good to try out, or that'd be really good to implement. What is that idea that you have that it wakes you up every day? Something you think about all the time. You're like, oh, that'd be nice to have that. What is that idea? Is it freedom from your job? That's an idea right there. Okay, let's talk about that. How can you get freedom from your job? Only you would know that. Are there other individuals out there that can help you? So in taking this idea, thought, I'll tell you what I did, how I came up with what my podcast is called, which my podcast actually changed the name, right? Before it was Interview and Job Search Strategies at Work. And then it changed to Get a Job in Tech. Easier to say get a job in, Job Search Strategies at Work versus Get a Job in Tech. And having so, this is what I came up with, right? So I said, okay, what am I good at doing? Well, I'm good at learning, actually. Okay. And what do I know now? Okay, I know backup. What specifically do you know about? I know Commvault. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, good. Start there. Gary, start there. Okay, how can I teach it? How can I teach it and learn more? If I teach individuals this, then it means I learn more because I'm learning different ideas. Oh, that's how that works. Oh, this is really cool. That's really nice. So the thing is, how can other individuals learn this? What do they need? Obviously, to learn Commvault, there's a thing beforehand that you need to learn in order to get to that point. What are those things? These are type of ideas that I came about when I was creating the podcast. At first, it was just about, I talk about how to get a job with other people all the time anyway. Wouldn't it be nice if I could just put that on the airways, put that on the podcast universe, if you will, and just share those ideas? And that's what I did, because I love to help individuals get jobs in IT, in tech, really. I love to help people change their family tree, if you will. And that's so much satisfaction for me. And that's really the whole basis of the podcast itself. Now, that's different for you. Whatever you have, whatever you want to do in your idea, whatever your idea is, I'm not sure what it is. Only you would know what that is. Don't think about this too much, right? You have a good idea. Don't overthink it or whatever. You have something you're good at. Anything that you do on a daily basis, that's your idea. Something that wakes you up every day and says, hey, wake up. I love doing this. I'm going to do this today. Well, that's what your podcast should be about, because that's what you do anyway. And people are going to love that. People are going to say, wow, this person really is ambitious. They're very happy about the idea that they're teaching me or teaching through the podcast. They're very excited. Wow, they must really love what they're doing. So cool. This is the idea that you would have. Something wakes you up every day. You're like, I want this idea. I gotta teach this. I gotta teach this. So what is your idea? What is your idea for your podcast? Let's talk about equipment. What equipment do I need to start a podcast? Do I need all this audio equipment? Do I need everything like this? And really the answer is no. You can probably see here that there's a cell phone here and there's headphones. That's pretty much it right there. That's basically really it right there. How do you start a podcast? The equipment you need: a phone, a microphone, cell phone, an audio recorder, if you will, some app that's an audio recorder. Then you also need this program this website called Anchor. So Anchor is an all-in-one platform where you can create, distribute, and monetize your podcast from any device for free. The easiest way to make a podcast is using Anchor. So it has easy to create tools. You can record, upload, and edit from any device with tools designed to make your sound great, regardless of your skill level. And that's true, actually. So it's 100% free. The hosting is distributed, meaning it goes onto many platforms. It goes into iTunes. It goes into Apple Podcast. It goes into Google Podcasts and many more, actually, right? You can also get paid to podcast, meaning you can monetize your episodes. What Anchor does is they match you with sponsors, regardless of your audience size, and collect listener donations. So the other thing is, in this one, you can have analytics and how many podcast episodes you have, how many listeners you have, where are they from, what country do they live in, all these things. So Anchor is the all-in-one version of a podcast platform for today's future, really. And that's really all you need. It can't be any more simpler than that. There are sites out there, I believe, Stitcher, is one, which is a paid one. Anchor is 100% free. And that's why I'm talking about it. And that's what I use. So there you go. How do I find guests to be in my podcast? You may be asking yourself this question. You may be saying, I have a podcast, I have the idea, I love it, and I would love to do this, and I really love to have other individuals on my podcast. So give me some ideas on how to get individuals on your podcast. How do you ask them? What's that look like? So I'll tell you the strategy that I use to get individuals on my podcast. I just ask them, and here's an example. Here's what I say. This is in LinkedIn. So I go to LinkedIn, linkedin.com, and I have 344 connections. So what I do is I just ask them, ask one of them, ask all of them really, hey, in the next week, are you available for a 20-minute interview that air on my podcast? You can talk about anything you want. If this is something you're interested in, shoot me back a LinkedIn message, and I will follow up with some information. Or if you are not available, just reply back with no thanks. And I got a lot of more no thanks than I did replies. So what I do is I also send them a link to my Calendly site. Calendly is free. CALENDLY.com. What I do is individuals will click on the 15-minute video here, their 15-minute meeting, if you will. Once they do that, they put in a time so I can set up how many dates, what day I'd like them to schedule an appointment with me, basically. Let's say the 26th of July. And then I book a time. I have them book a time. So let's say 11 a.m., something like that. Confirm. And then they put their information in, their name, their email, right, and all that stuff. And what information do you want to talk about? Please share any information that you want to help to prepare in our meeting. Add guest. You can add more than one. And then you send it off. And then I get an email. Saying, hey, you have a person who wants to come on your podcast, basically. Awesome. Fantastic. That's a fantastic idea. You have many individuals in your Facebook. You can also try this same email or same template, if you will. Just copy this down and use it for your liking. So also it helps to have your relatives, mothers, sisters, cousins, brothers, spouses, aunts, uncles, best friends, whatever. Tell them about your podcast. Ask them if they want to come on. If you have a YouTube channel, if you have an Instagram channel, or if you have anything like that, reach out to them. Say, hey, would you mind coming on my podcast? You know, it won't take very long. Just talk about 15 minutes on whatever it is you want to do. And who knows, they might say yes or no. You never know what they're going to say. That's what you're after. You're after just getting it out there, getting your name out there so that individuals come on your podcast and then go from there. Very fascinating stuff. Your first podcast episode. So you've decided to do it. You have the idea. You've got the equipment, which is your phone, right? Could just have a phone. You found some guests, or you just want to do it on your own. Just want to try this out. Podcast can be 1 minute, 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. Really, it's just you expressing whatever ideas you have out there. And so you have an account. You have a Gmail email account of some sort. Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, Rocket Mail, whatever your email address is. So you head over to anchor.com, obviously Anchor, of course. I'm going to say it again, right? It is an all-in-one platform when you can create, distribute, and monetize your podcast from any device for free, meaning they cover the cost of the podcast. They cover the hosting. They cover all that. That's the benefit of it. Again, I've used it for many years, 2 years to be exact, a little more than 2 years. So I think it's a great tool. So once you're there, you click on the episode, new episode. And let's make my screen a little bigger here. And once you do that, you click on, so you're presented with a couple things. You have record, messages, and library. If you have messages, it means individuals have sent you something, meaning they sent you something. Hey, I love what you've done. I love the podcast, whatever it is. Recording is you're going to record. You can record from your computer itself. You can also do library where you have previous uploaded audio, and they have transitions. This is free music and sound effects, which is great. So let's click on record. So we're clicking record. I'm just going to do a test podcast actually here. Click on record and unable to microphone. Okay, I'm going to click here. I'm going to allow microphone. Okay, good. They're allowed. Push refresh again. And we are recording, I believe. Let's see here. Yes, we're recording. Okay, start recording. So here we go. Get a job in tech. Episode 126. I'm doing this podcast episode while I'm actually teaching a course on the internet about how to get a podcast up in 24 hours. So everybody listening to this podcast right now, you're actually part of this podcast course. So congratulations on that. This is very fascinating stuff. I do enjoy podcasting. I do get a great satisfaction of doing it. I do get a lot of feedback and on Twitter and on Pinterest and other platforms and how to do things great. Can you talk about this? I get feedback from individuals to talk to. Hey, do you mind talking about, or can you tell me how to get a job in this field or that field, or how to get a job in tech? And through this medium, through podcasting, I'm able to not only tell them how to do it and give them a long-winded answer, because maybe I only met them for 10 seconds or 30 seconds, but I'm also able to give this information to anybody in the world. Anybody who has the internet, anybody who has a device, a cell phone, anything like that, all over the world, you hear this voice. You're able to hear everything I'm talking about. So that's the benefit of the podcast. So this is awesome. So I'm going to stop this podcast now because I really appreciate everybody listening to this podcast. And again, thank you very much. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, go to facebook.com/getajobintech. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's twitter.com/Gary McNeely IT. On Pinterest, it's Gary McNeely IT. Twitter, it's Gary McNeely IT. Instagram, it's Gary McNeely IT. On LinkedIn, just look for Gary McNeely. And you're going to see my face there. It's going to say Compound 11 course on there. You're going to see that. And that reminds me, if you yourself want to get a job in tech, if you'd like to get a job in tech and you want to learn all this tech stuff, well, then check out my course. Go to the internet, search for Get a Job in Tech, or just search my name, Gary McNeely, a couple different resources. Or the best one, go to my website, GaryMcNeelyIT.com. Click on the courses tab, and it'll be linked to the courses that I have on other platforms. So back to it. Now we've stopped the recording, right? And so now it's processing. Okay, we're going to let it process a bit. Okay, let it process. And you can see the other audio podcasts before. I have episode 124 from previously. Meaning you can split it up. You can split up the podcast. So we'll wait for it to come about and how to process. We're just going to talk a little bit more about, okay, here we go. So what we do is we have this thing we've recorded. We just move it over here to the drag and drop, right? Okay. Then we click on this 3 dots here. Click on that. And we want to split it into multiple episodes. We can download it first, meaning you can download the audio file. You can save it for a later date. Or I can split into multiple episodes. So let's do that. So here we're going to split it up. We're going to say, let's say probably half. Let's do that, right? Okay. Say split here. Save and split. Okay. And I'm going to put I don't think I can only, I think if I have 2, I think I need 2 segments to put in sponsors. So let's check it out. We click here, we move the sponsor up, add sponsor, move it down. Perfect. Awesome. So we have a sponsored segment, meaning we have I guess they call it a B-roll or A-roll, if you will, which is just a commercial, if you will. Okay. If we scroll down here into the section here, it says transformations. We'll click that. And let's just view a few here, shall we? We'll click on one. What does that look like? That's loud. Sorry about that. I apologize. Let's do one that is just, say, bling. Well, that's very loud. I apologize about that. So I'm going to click on the one that says A Clue. When I click on it, okay, nice little chime there. Obviously, I have the audio turned off because sometimes it's loud. I'm just going to drag that in here on the end. I might drag it in the front there. Let's drag it in the end, actually, right? Let's drag it in. You can drag it in the front, you can drag it in, whatever. And once we do that, we're going to click on Save Episode. Then we're going to name our episode, episode 20, episode 125. And let's name it. Let's say podcast in 24 hours. Okay, course. Perfect. Podcast in 24 hours course. Fantastic. Click that. Done right there. That's great there. Okay. Fantastic. Move that over there. Now what we do is we go into the other episodes, and I'm going to pull out the information, the metadata, the details, the show notes, the little bitty, if you will, like the links, if you will, that I use. Let's do it here. Do it over. Let's do this. Let's do this. So we're going to just, can't see it obviously. Click here. And so, okay, put that in there. Remove that. Okay. So I have links, right? You have your links. I have my links to my website, my Facebook group, my Twitter account, my other course, and I think it's my Instagram and my Twitter. Okay. The podcast in 24 hours. Okay. So let's click down here. So obviously, I could use a season number. I'm not going to choose that because, I just go with the flow. Episode number, full trailer or bonus. Obviously, it's a full. It's cleaner, explicit. Here's the cool part about it. If you happen to curse or cuss or vulgar, whatever, right? You can put that in there. You can cuss, you can say these bad words or whatever, right? And you can do that. You just have to click this explicit. And then we want to publish it, right? Do you want to do a date in the future or we want to do it now? I want to do it now. I'm going to close this and click on Publish Now. Once I do that, you're going to see the analytics about the course. Obviously, nobody has viewed it yet, right? So that's the thing. You can share this podcast with other individuals. Maybe you want to share it via Facebook, Instagram, or you can copy the link, or you can embed it in a posting or a WordPress site or whatever. Down here, you'd have your plays, the number of plays you have, how many has viewed it. You'd also have the performance. So there's not enough information about the performance of the podcast yet. Down here, you have how does it stack up to different podcasts or different episode numbers. Obviously, I've had episode 1 got me a lot of views, so forth. And finally, down here, you have everything about the podcast itself. So you have the first segment here, which is part 1, part 2, your sponsored content, and then your imported transition, if you will. At the bottom, you have everything pushed together. So this is a full-blown podcast, ready to go, all in go, all is set up and everything like that. So thank you very much. This is exactly how you do a podcast. This is really how it is. How can I make money podcasting? Yes, of course, you're starting a podcast and you want to get your name out there. You want to just tell your voice, really. It's your idea. You want to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. Share with the world your knowledge. And with that, there are individuals out there who make money podcasting, just like everything else. No different. Obviously, my vision, my goal in getting in podcasting was just to have an idea and tell the world and help them get better. That Walmart person, that McDonald's person who makes $9 an hour, they want to make 12, they make $13 an hour. Well, obviously, I've been talking to individuals a long time, maybe 5+ years, a little more than that actually. And in that time, educating them, teaching them, learning from them, if you will, because it is about learning as well. And in that, I just said, okay, there's a platform that came out, obviously Gary Vee, personally about podcasting. And I said, well, how do I announce that? How do I tell the world about what I know? And podcasting came along, and thank you, whoever invented podcasting. I really appreciate it very much so. It's just been a great thing. So let me share with the information with you a little bit here. Okay. So first things first, podcasting, making money, right? Obviously, in making money, it's all about your listenership. Do they like what you say? Do they resonate with what you talk about? And really, if you have a small audience, that's perfect. If you have a big audience, that's perfect too. It's really just about your content. How do people resonate? Do people like what you're talking about? Do they find it enjoyable? Do they find it useful? Okay. So a couple different things on how to make money in podcasting. Through Anchor, you can actually have individuals support you. Give them a link, and in sharing that link through Anchor, individuals are able to pay you money or support your channel or support you basically, right? They like your content, they're going to give you $5, $10 or whatever, right? The other thing is to activate sponsorships on all podcasts or all episodes, if you will. So in doing so, what you're doing is monetizing every single episode. And eventually what happens is companies will say, give you sponsorships. So Anchor will send you a message and it'll say like, this company wants to give you wants you to do an ad for them, and you record the ad. And when that happens, you put it out there and they like it. Yes, no, maybe so. And they give you a script to go by on how it should read. And then you put it out there on your mid-roll and on your podcast, and then you get paid accordingly to that, right? Obviously, you never want to say no to any of your sponsors. You want to always just record. And even if you don't agree with whatever they're talking about, like dog kennel or going to the moon podcast or going to the moon, going to the moon sponsorships, they're going to Mars. Maybe you don't want to go to Mars or whatever. Well, just do the sponsorship anyway. You don't want to go to the moon, just put the sponsorship anyway. Why? Because your name's out there. When you do the things you don't like to do, podcasting wise, eventually you're going to get the chance to do the things you want to. Having said that, let me tell you a little bit about my niche, which is careers. So There's a website called toppodcast.com it's toppodcast.com. So in there, what I did was I did a keyword search under business and then careers. So you click on business and then it brings up another thing and it's under careers. So in that, look at the top podcasts that I see here, right? So you have all these ones. I've watched his YouTube channel, this individual. I've also listened to this individual here, the Smart Passive Income. I listened to that one. The EntreLeadership, I know he does. Oh, here it is, EntreLeadership. The thing about these, in my view, they're great. They're awesome. And they're fantastic. They teach you great things and all that, right? The one that I like the most is the Side Hustle School. And the Side Hustle School takes it down a notch. Okay, hey, I just want to make a couple extra dollars an hour, right? So that's the most one that I resonate with, really, is the Side Hustle School. Hey, how do you get this job? How do you work for somebody and also have a side income or make more money? I started listening to Entrepreneurs on Fire, of course, with John Lee Dumas. That's a great podcast. Really like it. I just don't resonate with that as much as I do with, say, the Side Hustle Show or Side Hustle School, if you will. So that's number 17. And my podcast is similar to this, except mine is more of a entry-level tech job. This is side hustles. A lot of people do individual things, different types of jobs, whereas mine is specific to tech, getting a job in tech, and how that applies to you, and how do you do it going from working at McDonald's or Walmart, getting into the tech field. The other thing I'll say is with the technology as it is now, these numbers are just going to grow. Obviously, I don't know if this is an accurate website. There probably is a different website that has every single podcast imaginable, probably a couple million podcasts by now. And being that, there's always a chance for growth. There's always more. The other thing to take into consideration is this. These podcasts are English speaking. This doesn't include the other podcasts around the world. So individuals speak another language, and in that language, they have different advertising, all of the above. So it's a different aspect of how it works. Your next podcast guest. Me. That's me. I don't mind. I would love to be on your podcast. I would love to be on your podcast, actually. If you want to invite me on your podcast, I'll gladly do it. But how do you reach me? How do you contact me? Obviously, I'm on the Twitter. I'm on the Pinterest. I'm on the Facebook. At Gary McNeely IT. Or contact me at my email, contact@GaryMcNeelyIT.com. Or the other way, probably the easiest way, really, is join my Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/GetAJobInTech. That's the podcast. That's the name of the podcast, actually. So if you, again, would like to have me on your podcast as a guest, I would be very honored. So I really appreciate you taking this course, learning about this course, and learning how to create your own podcast in 24 hours. I wish you very well. I wish you luck. I wish you future. I wish you happiness. I wish you prosperity in your podcast. Thank you.